there is both an art and a science to public speaking. Public speaking, no matter which textbook I teach out of, is a fear for most adults in the United States, and it is a fear for most students. In fact, it is a task they avoid, and it is often a class that is avoided. But I would like to explain to you why it's not so hard. As long as you learn the steps of a process and you practice, public speaking will get easier and easier as you do it. I'm Dr. Heidi Gugesberg-Deal, and I've been teaching public speaking for 24 years. I have taught at colleges and universities for my entire career. This time for my presentational aid, I'm going to use the Pocket Guide to Public Speaking 7th edition presentational aids. It honestly doesn't matter which textbook I teach out of. All of them have very similar information for my students to learn. When you learn public speaking, you are gaining a vital life skill. Skill in public speaking gives you an unmistakable edge, leads to greater confidence and satisfaction, and it is a potent weapon in career development. Why is all of this true? Because as I just mentioned, if you are good at public speaking, there are others who may not be. It will also help you enhance your career as a student. As I mentioned, you can develop skills when preparing speeches. These include researching topics, analyzing the audience, organizing and outlining your ideas, and supporting claims. Obviously, these skills can apply to other courses. Courses in your major, courses in composition, they can apply to several types of courses. You can also find new opportunities for civic engagement if you study public speaking. It will allow you to research topics that are meaningful to you, consider alternative viewpoints, choose a course of action, and distinguish between arguments and uncivil speech. Of course, whenever we study the art and the science of public speaking, we go back to the roots, the classical roots of public speaking. So many of you, I am sure, have heard of these classical roots of public speaking. A lot of people think that communication is a new discipline or a new field. It actually is not. It goes back to the times of ancient Greece. So in ancient Greece, they developed rhetoric, which was making effective speeches, also called oratory. I know you've heard rhetoric as a terrible word. That's just a bunch of rhetoric. But the truth is, rhetoric is actually just communication. They used this type of rhetoric to persuade public policy, and they practiced public speaking in forums. I have been to Greece myself and seen the colosseums and areas in which public speaking occurred, including St. Paul's letter to the Ephesians, or in the town of Ephesus, where he gave his presentations. Aside from Paul, there was Aristotle. Aristotle developed the canons of rhetoric, which include invention, arrangement, style, memory, and delivery. Inventing your topic, arranging the information, developing a style, committing some of the information to memory, though not all of it, and developing a delivery style. All of those things were important in the time of Aristotle, and all of those things continue to be important. So why learn to speak in public? Well, speaking in public is an acquired skill. It's just like swimming. I can give you all the instructions on how to swim on the edge of the swimming pool, but until you actually get into the water and practice, you cannot swim. The same goes with public speaking. It is not only an acquired skill, but it improves with practice. It is similar in ways to having a conversation and to writing papers. So it utilizes some of the skills that you already have. You can draw first on your conversational skills. Skills you commonly use in conversation include checking to ensure you are understood, adjusting your meaning as necessary, discussing issues appropriate to the circumstances, and uncovering the audience's interest and attitudes. You can draw on the skills, as I mentioned, from composition. Your skills that you've developed in writing is have a sense of who the audience is, research the topic, offer credible evidence, employ effective transitions, and devising persuasive appeals. Also, in composition, you offer a compelling introduction, a clear thesis statement, supporting ideas, and a thoughtful conclusion. As you will learn as we go along, all of these pieces are important, including a thoughtful conclusion. Next, you have to develop an effective oral style. Practices of successful speakers include using familiar words, using easy-to-follow sentences, using transitional words and phrases, and repeating key words and phrases. You want to relate your message to your audience. You want to use specific references to yourself and to members of the audience. You want to use clear, recognizable, and organized speech patterns. And you want to offer the audience something of value. As we'll discuss when we get to the listening chapter, you want to use something that touches their background and their experiences so they're more likely to pay attention to you. Also, you want to become an inclusive speaker. In the United States, we've always been a country full of mixed cultures, races, creeds, colors, you name it, we've been a mix. So you want to make sure to address diverse audiences with sensitivity, cultivate your cultural intelligence, strive for inclusion, and adopt an audience-centered approach. There are 4 categories of human communication. Public speaking is a form of human communication. So the first is dyadic communication, which is communication between 2 people. The second is small group communication, which is a small number of people, generally between 3 and 10 people. Anything more than that becomes a public speaking situation. But in small group communication, you can see and speak directly to one another. Also, there is mass communication, in which the speaker and a large audience engage. However, the audience is not usually connected. This would be something like writing a blog, giving a speech on video, or any of the other ways that people communicate to mass audiences, radio, TV, etc. You understand. Public speaking is when a speaker delivers a message with a specific purpose and the audience is present during the speech. Public speaking always includes a speaker with a reason for speaking. If you don't have a reason for speaking, you probably shouldn't be in front of your audience. You also want to have an audience that gives attention. If you are a member of the audience, you should give your attention to the speaker. And your message is meant to accomplish a purpose. Again, if you don't have a reason for speaking, then you probably shouldn't be in front of your audience giving a speech. Public speaking is, of course, an interactive process. It includes a source, a receiver, a message, a channel, and shared meaning. The source is the individual that creates the message. The receiver is the individual that receives the message. The message is obviously the content of the communication process. The channel is how we get the information from point A to point B. And shared meaning is when we both understand what is being communicated. If one party does not understand, then the meaning cannot be shared. As you can see here, this is the transactional model of communication. Though we used to have a linear model of communication, this model includes all the pieces. The context influences the speaker, the audience, or the occasion. It may include recent events, physical setting, and cultural orientation of the audience members. The rhetorical situation. Remember, we just said that this is a communication situation, which is circumstances calling for a public response. The speech purpose or goal, what the audience should learn or should do. That's all I have to share with you in an introduction to public speaking. There are, of course, many more chapters and much more to learn. So tune in for the next presentation on Chapter 2, an overview of a speech from A to Z.